Your spine holds secrets about the evolution of your soul. Strange back pain, tingling or pressure. They are not just physical. If I told you that your back pain has absolutely nothing to do with posture or overwork, would you believe it? Most people spend their entire lives chasing medicines, physiotherapy, and even surgeries, without even suspecting that the real problem is not physical, it is spiritual. And the most shocking? The shape of your spine reveals exactly where you are in your spiritual evolution. That's right. Your spiritual spine is practically an energetic map, a wide-open reflection of the wounds of your soul, the blockages you carry and, above all, the spiritual signs you insist on ignoring. Do you know that spiritual tension in the lower back that doesn't go away? That annoying spiritual tingle that visits you in the middle of the night? That spiritual pressure on your back that feels like an invisible weight crushing you? None of this is a coincidence. These are symptoms of spiritual awakening, clear signs that your spiritual energy is asking you, almost begging, to wake up. And here's a truth that no one told you: as long as you don't understand your body language, you'll continue to be stuck in the same cycle of pain, frustration, and disconnection. But calm down. No need to panic. Because, from now on, I'm going to show you how to decipher each sign, each symptom, each discomfort. What's more, you'll discover how to turn back pain into opportunities for growth, how to unblock your chakras, and how to use your own spiritual spine as a tool for healing, alignment, and, most importantly, spiritual expansion. And no. Get ready, because once you understand this, you will never look at your own posture in the same way again. Have you ever stopped to think that your body speaks? And no, it's not pretty metaphor talk, no. When we look at our spiritual spine, it works as a true map of our spiritual evolution. That spiritual tension that appears out of nowhere, that annoying pain in the back. All of this carries a much deeper meaning than you might think. Back pain, discomfort in the lower back, cervical, dorsal. These are clear spiritual signs that your spiritual energy is crying out for help. It's not just physical. It's your spirit screaming, calling you to look inside. It is curious to realize how the body never lies. When the chakras are blocked, it is as if spiritual energy becomes stagnant, accumulating cellular memories that generate physical and emotional discomfort. The spiritual spine, in this scenario, becomes a mirror. Every deviation, every bend, every strain on the lower back or neck reflects a piece of your energy story. And look. It's not a story now, no. Sometimes, it comes from way back, from karmic patterns that we have been dragging without realizing it. For example, you know that weight that never seems to leave your shoulders? That tiredness that doesn't get better even with 3 good nights of sleep? That's that. This can be directly linked to your spiritual awakening. When spiritual expansion begins to happen, the body responds. Spiritual back pressure, spiritual tingling, accumulated tension. These are all symptoms of spiritual awakening that many people simply ignore, thinking that it is just stress. And, spoiler, it's not just that, no. The most interesting thing is to notice how certain spiritual symptoms appear in exactly the same regions where we have the greatest emotional challenges. The lumbar, for example, usually carries issues related to security, fear of the future, finance. Cervical pain, on the other hand, usually reflects the difficulty in communicating, in expressing oneself truthfully. And the dorsal? This one usually screams when we are carrying emotional weights that are not even ours. It is as if the column were a spiritual diary written in tension, pain and misalignment. If you start to feel that your spiritual spine is rigid, heavy, disconnected, know that this is not for nothing. It's your body, your soul, and your spiritual energy trying to tell you that there's something out of alignment. And no, it's not just a matter of physical posture. It is a posture of life, of soul, of mission. When we don't listen to these spiritual signs, the body intensifies alerts, back pain, spiritual tingling, pressure on the shoulder blades, everything becomes more evident. Ignoring this is like covering your ear while someone calls you insistently. Now, notice, if the body speaks, it is because it wants to be heard. And when he starts screaming through the spiritual tension, the back pain, and the energetic pressure, maybe that moment is coming that a lot of people dread, but that, deep down, is liberating. So, have you ever wondered what happens when this spiritual energy starts to really move, going up your spine, activating every bit of your essence? Imagine for a moment a sleeping serpent, coiled at the base of your spine. No, this is not mystical talk without any basis, it is the representation of Kundalini, a powerful spiritual energy that lives within you. When this energy begins its awakening, it is as if it unfolds, slowly moving up your spiritual spine. In this process, it activates chakras, dissolves blockages, and promotes a true energetic cleansing. And, of course, you can't go through this without feeling some very curious spiritual symptoms, see? You know that spiritual tingle that appears out of nowhere? That pressure on your spiritual back that makes you even adjust your posture without understanding why? Well, most likely this is the Kundalini awakening. It rises like a subtle fire, sometimes hot, sometimes vibrant, bringing out everything that needs to be cleansed. Those who have been through this report sensations ranging from heat rising up the spine to a vibration that looks like a cell phone shaking inside the body. And look. No, you're not going crazy. When the Kundalini rises, it does not ask for permission. It comes to sweep away blockages, break patterns, and make room for your spiritual expansion. And, look. If the chakras are blocked, my friend, hold on. Because it's like trying to climb a ladder full of rubble. There is back pain, pressure in the chest, spiritual tension in the back of the neck, that discomfort in the lower back. All of these are symptoms of spiritual awakening that often scare those who do not understand what is going on. Many wonder, okay, but how do I know if it's Kundalini or just stress? Great question. The difference is in the type of feeling. Stress weighs, tires, exhausts. The awakening of Kundalini, on the other hand, brings, in addition to physical discomfort, a spiritual restlessness, a crazy desire to change everything, to align, to seek answers. And then those subtle spiritual signs come in, like very vivid dreams, sudden insights, and even that crazy desire to drop everything and go meditate in the middle of the woods. Even if you're feeling back pain without medical explanation, pressure on the lower back, heat going up your spine, spiritual tingling that starts at the base and goes up, it makes sense to ask yourself, is my spiritual energy awakening? And look, if the answer is yes, it's time to start taking care of this process. Practices such as conscious breathing, yoga focused on chakra alignment, and specific meditations for Kundalini can make all the difference on this path. But here's a mentor warning for those who are listening to this right now: don't romanticize, no. Kundalini awakening is not just about feeling nice vibes and living in ecstasy, no. It also brings up spiritual karma, painful cellular memories, and a lot of stuff that was hidden there, accumulating in your spiritual spine. And when that starts to emerge, my friend, you will understand why the whole body responds. And you know what's most curious? It's just that these pains, these discomforts, are just the beginning of what lies ahead. Look, if there's one thing that few people understand, it's that blocked chakras aren't just an abstract energy issue. They have a direct reflection on the physical body, especially on the spiritual spine. Each chakra is connected to a specific region of our spine. And, guess what? When this spiritual energy freezes, the body screams. Back pain, spiritual tingling, spiritual tension, that pressure on the lower back that seems to have no end. These are all symptoms of spiritual awakening trying to make you look within. For example, the root chakra, at the base of the spine, when it is blocked, generates insecurity, fear, and of course, lower back pain. The sacral chakra, on the other hand, a little higher, when locked, stirs emotions, creativity, and usually generates discomfort in the hip and lower back. Going up further, we arrive at the solar plexus. If it is stuck, pain appears in the dorsal region, that annoying feeling of heaviness between the shoulder blades and even spiritual tingling. And, my friend, this is no coincidence. Now hold this one, the heart chakra, which is there in the center of the chest, has everything to do with that spiritual tension that appears in the back, right in the line of the shoulders. It's as if back pain symbolically carries the emotional weights you didn't want to look at. The laryngeal chakra, on the other hand, linked to communication, when blocked, directly affects the cervical. And who hasn't felt that stiff neck out of nowhere, or a stiffness in the neck that seems to sprout from nowhere? That's that spiritual energy asking for attention. And it doesn't stop there. The frontal chakra, the one of the third eye, when locked, usually generates, in addition to mental confusion, tension in the back of the neck and even that annoying spiritual pressure that rises through the head. And if the crown chakra is blocked, oh, get ready to feel a lot of existential emptiness, disconnection, and even pain in the upper part of the head and cervical. The spiritual column becomes a complete map, where each symptom is practically a post-it note of the universe saying, "Look at this, creature." For those who are on this path of spiritual expansion, understanding these spiritual signs is almost a matter of energetic survival. To ignore is to accumulate more spiritual karma, more negative cellular memories, and of course, more pain. Therefore, practices such as chakra alignment, guided meditation, use of crystals, such as quartz, amethyst, and obsidian, and even energy cleansing therapies are indispensable tools in this process. It's not luxury, it's self-care of the soul. And you know what's crazier? It's just that, many times, when the person begins to look at these symptoms of spiritual awakening, he realizes that that chronic pain, which no doctor explained, simply begins to disappear. Because the spiritual spine is not just bones, muscles and tendons. It is, first and foremost, a channel of spiritual energy. And when that channel starts to unblock itself, then the real transformation begins. And, speaking of transformation, have you ever noticed how some pains seem to carry stories that are not even yours? You know that pain that just doesn't go away, no matter how many massages, medicines, or stretches you do. That's that. Not everything that hurts in the body originates in the physical. Many of these back pains carry the weight of karmic patterns that come from a long, long time ago. They are impregnated cellular memories, energetic scars from past experiences, from this life and others. It is as if the spiritual column were a kind of hard drive that holds old files, waiting for the right moment to be finally deleted. It is at this moment that spiritual tension appears strongly. The pain in the lower back, that constant weight in the back or that stiffness in the cervical. All of this can be a reflection of spiritual karma that is being activated now, asking for healing. It's that famous, "It's time to solve what you've been postponing for lifetimes." What if you ignore it? Spiritual energy intensifies alerts, like an insistent notification from the universe. And, between us, ignoring this is like trying to silence a fire alarm with duct tape. For those who are on the path of spiritual awakening, this is nothing new. After all, symptoms of spiritual awakening are often accompanied by very intense spiritual sensations, spiritual tingling in the lower back, pressure on the spiritual back, pain in the shoulder blades, heat rising through the spine. All of this is a sign that your spiritual energy is reorganizing. And, yes, this process can be uncomfortable, because, let's face it, who likes energy cleaning when the closet is full of accumulated junk? Now, look how interesting, when you start working on these karmic patterns, you are not only healing yourself, but also clearing ancestral charges. It's as if, by releasing these cellular memories, you also help your entire lineage, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and even those who came before. Practices such as family constellation, energetic cleansing with ayahuasca, for those who feel this calling, or even energy reprogramming therapies can be powerful tools on this path of spiritual expansion. And it doesn't stop there. These processes change the energetic structure so much that even your physical posture changes. People report that, after a deep process of spiritual healing, they realize that they are walking more upright, lighter, as if that invisible weight had, in fact, disappeared. The spiritual spine realigns, the chakras unblock and, with that, the spiritual energy flows harmoniously again. And you know what's more magical? When this happens, even the physical pains begin to disappear, like magic, but it's not magic, it's healing. But, look. If until now you thought your spine was just a matter of bones and muscles, you better rethink. Because the truth is that it works as a spiritual antenna. And if that antenna is full of noise, karmic and emotional interference, how do you expect to pick up the right signals from the universe? And, look. If that antenna starts to fail, the next signals come even stronger. If you imagine that the spine was only used to support the body, I'm sorry to inform you. But it is much more than that. It is, literally, a spiritual antenna. Yes, an antenna that connects your spiritual energy to earth and heaven. The root chakra, at the base, pulls energy from the earth, while the crown chakra, at the top of the head, connects with the higher plane. And, guess what? If this antenna is misaligned, the transmission is full of noise. Result? Uncomfortable spiritual sensations, spiritual tension, back pain and that famous, I don't know why, but I'm feeling lost. When this spiritual antenna works properly, the energy flows in balance, leaving you centered, aligned and with mental clarity. But if the chakras are blocked, get ready, the festival of spiritual symptoms begins. Pressure on the lower back, spiritual tingling going up the spine, discomfort in the back of the neck, heaviness in the shoulders. All of this indicates that your spiritual spine is asking for an urgent realignment. And look, it's not enough to just fix the physical posture, you have to adjust the posture of the soul as well. You know those days when you wake up with no focus, no energy, with your head racing and no solution in sight? Often this is the result of a disconnection between your energy centers. It's like trying to listen to a radio station out of tune, just hissing. And when this happens, back pain, a feeling of constant tiredness and that emptiness that is difficult to explain come along with it. That's your spiritual energy screaming, hey, let's line up that antenna there, because it's impossible to connect. The craziest thing is that a lot of people try to solve this only in the physical, gym, physiotherapy, pain medicines. And of course, this helps, but it doesn't solve the root of the problem. Because, if the cause is spiritual, my friend, the treatment also needs to be. Techniques such as chakra alignment, meditation focusing on the spiritual spine, use of mantras, such as Om or Ram, as well as grounding practices, connection with the earth, like walking barefoot on grass, work miracles. Literally. And don't think that this is baseless esoteric talk, no. Neuroscience is already beginning to study how meditation, conscious breathing, and energy practices alter brain and body chemistry. And, guess what? They also directly affect the spiritual spine. Because when your antenna is clean and aligned, you not only feel less back pain, but you notice a leap in your spiritual expansion. Clarity comes, intuition emerges, and even that spiritual karma that seemed impossible to solve, begins to dissolve. Now, answer me one thing: if your column is this wonderful antenna, which connects you with the high and the low, with the sky and the earth, what happens when this energy starts to flow uncontrollably? Or worse, when it starts sending you stronger and stronger signals and you keep pretending you're not listening? If you think that all discomfort in the body has a physical origin, get ready to expand your vision, and, in addition, your consciousness. Because many of the spiritual symptoms you feel, they are not physical. That's right. That pressure on the back of your neck, that spiritual tingle that rises up your lower back, that strange heat that runs down your back. None of this is just bad manners or stress. They are clear spiritual signs that your spiritual energy is adjusting, aligning, expanding. And, look. Few know this. You know that weird discomfort that appears right in the middle of the shoulder blades? That feeling that there is something weighing there, for no apparent reason? That's that. Most of the time, this is not physical, it is blocked spiritual energy trying to move around. This can happen when you start to go through a spiritual expansion, when your kundalini is awakening, or when there is a gigantic accumulation of cellular memories and spiritual karma wanting to be cleared. And here comes that classic, "Wow, I woke up with a horrible weight on my back, I didn't even sleep properly. Did I sleep crooked?" The answer is often no, you didn't sleep crookedly. You are going through such an intense energetic cleansing process that your physical body is not able to handle all of this alone. And, of course, the blocked chakras contribute to this discomfort increasing. Because when the energy doesn't flow, it accumulates. And when it accumulates, hurts. Now, just imagine, your spiritual spine is there, trying to process an absurd amount of spiritual energy, while you go on with life thinking it's just anxiety. Result? Spiritual back pressure, spiritual tension, that weird heat rising, that spiritual tingling that doesn't give you peace. And it is exactly at this moment that the universe is telling you, beloved, it's time to look inside. Because ignoring this is like ignoring that your house is on fire just because you don't want to see the smoke. And here's a truth that no one tells you: these symptoms of spiritual awakening usually appear more strongly just when you're on the right path. Yes, that's right. It is as if the universe tested your willingness to continue in your spiritual evolution. If you ignore it, the signs increase. If you welcome, understand, and work on your energy, spiritual expansion happens in a lighter way. And that's when powerful insights, clarity, peace, and that sense of purpose that seemed lost begin to emerge. Now, if until now you thought that all this was just in your head, hold on. Because if these spiritual signs are already appearing, it means that your body, your soul, and your spiritual spine are preparing you for the next level. And guess what? There is a way to alleviate all this, align your energy and, in addition, transform your life. But, of course, only for those who have the courage to look at themselves and allow themselves this transformation. If so far you have noticed that your spiritual spine has been giving you signs, let's talk about practical solutions, because yes, there is a way, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Aligning your spiritual energy and your spine is not unattainable esoteric talk, it is self-care at a high level. And you know what's better? You don't have to become a monk in the Himalayas for that. Simple things, done in your daily life, already begin to generate an absurd spiritual expansion. It's like adjusting a radio antenna, you move a little bit and, suddenly, the sound is clear. Let's start with something basic, but extremely powerful: meditation. And I'm not talking about that meditation of sitting down and thinking about nothing, which, let's face it, no one can. I'm talking about guided meditations, focused on chakra alignment, energetic cleansing of the spine and kundalini activation. Platforms like YouTube are full of practices like this. Channels like Pause Interior or Conscientia Cosmica have incredible audios for this. Try it and then tell me. Another fundamental practice is grounding, or, in good Portuguese, connecting with the earth. This means walking barefoot on the grass, on the sand, hugging a tree, yes, that works, don't laugh, sunbathing consciously, taking a deep breath looking at the sky. This discharges excess energy accumulated in the spiritual spine, unblocks chakras, and releases spiritual tensions. And, look. After 5 minutes barefoot in nature, that pressure on the spiritual back begins, miraculously, to ease. And of course, you can't forget the physical body. Conscious stretching, yoga aimed at realigning the spine, breathing techniques, such as pranayama, and even therapeutic massages with an energy focus work miracles. Want an example? The cat and cow pose in yoga is perfect for unlocking energy in the spine. 30 seconds there and you feel the spiritual energy literally rising, activating chakras and clearing that spiritual tension built up for years. In addition, energetic cleansing rituals are indispensable. Herbal baths such as rosemary, rue, basil, and lavender cleanse the aura, relieve symptoms of spiritual awakening, and balance your spiritual spine. Another powerful practice is smoking with sage, Palo Santo, or even specific incense for chakra alignment. And, if you want to go deeper, therapies such as Reiki, Theta healing, or access bars are real fine-tuning of your spiritual antenna. But here's a point that many people ignore. There's no point in aligning your spiritual energy if you keep feeding toxic patterns, whether thoughts or relationships. The spiritual spine feels everything. If you live surrounded by people who drain your energy, your alignment will quickly go away. So, in addition to the practices, start to do a good cleaning in your choices, in your company and, above all, in your thoughts. Because, look, when your spiritual spine is clean, life begins to flow in a way you didn't even imagine. And speaking of flowing, you know that feeling that your soul is trying to tell you something deeper? There comes a time in the journey when you can no longer escape. That constant discomfort, that spiritual tension that appears out of nowhere, that spiritual tingling that insists on going up the spine, all of this is your soul speaking. And, look, she speaks very loudly, see? Your body remembers everything. Cellular memories, traumas, karmic patterns. It's all there, registered in your spiritual column, waiting for you to have the courage to look, understand and, above all, heal. Ignoring these spiritual signs is like trying to silence an entire orchestra by just covering your ears. The pain doesn't go away, she screams even more. And it's not just physical pain, no. It's that existential emptiness that hits out of nowhere, that anxiety for no reason, that feeling of being disconnected, lost, without direction. All of these are symptoms of the spiritual awakening that your soul uses to push you, sometimes even half forcefully, into your process of spiritual evolution. The most curious? It's just that the more you try to escape, the more the universe finds a way to remind you. Whether it's that pressure on your spiritual back that doesn't go away, or that strange dream that repeats itself, or even that emotional crisis that arises without warning. Because when the time comes to wake up, there is no way to escape. The spiritual spine becomes the stage where this invisible spectacle takes place, and your body is the tireless messenger of this transformation. And look, don't think that this is punishment, no. On the contrary. It's your soul telling you, hey, let's wake up. It's time to grow, to expand, to live your mission. And then, when you finally start listening, things change. Spiritual tension begins to ease, blocked chakras begin to open, spiritual energy flows. And with that comes clarity, lightness, spiritual expansion, and a peace that, until then, you didn't even know existed. But, of course, don't think that this means you'll never feel anything again. No, no. Spiritual evolution is an ongoing process. From time to time, your spiritual spine will remind you that there is more to clean, to align, to transform. It's like cleaning the house. It's no use just cleaning and thinking that you'll never collect dust again. The difference is that, after you learn, you no longer suffer so much, because you understand the signs and know the way. And if you think this is all the end of the road, I'm sorry to inform you, but it's not. In fact, it's just the beginning. Because, from here, life begins to show you even clearer, stronger, more precise signs. And, guess what? When you learn to listen, you realize that this connection with your spiritual spine, with your spiritual energy, is just the first step of a much larger journey. A journey where the invisible becomes visible. Your body remembers what your mind has forgotten. Comment, I align my energy down here. Now answer me, looking deep inside you. How many times has your body tried to warn you, and you just ignored it? How many times has that pain in my back, that spiritual tension, that spiritual tingling appeared, and you just thought, oh, it must be stress? And now that you understand how much your spiritual spine reflects your spiritual evolution, your expansion, your journey, tell me, are you going to keep ignoring these spiritual signs? The whole universe is sending you messages. And do you know what the question is? Will you continue to pretend that you don't understand, or will you finally choose to listen to your soul, unblock your chakras, align your spiritual energy and live the spiritual awakening that your essence asks for so much? Because, honestly, getting stuck in spiritual karma, cellular memories of the past, pain and discomfort, that doesn't match who you're becoming anymore, right? If everything you learned here today made sense, then answer me here in the comments. Which of these spiritual signs have you noticed in your body? Which symptom of spiritual awakening caught your attention the most? And, more importantly, what change do you commit to making starting today to start your spiritual healing? Because, look, knowledge without action is just lost information. And here we are not to accumulate information, but to transform lives. If you want to continue on this path of spiritual expansion, evolution, healing, so don't leave here without subscribing to the channel, activating the bell and, of course, leaving your like. Thus, you don't miss any content that will help you decipher the signs of the universe, cleanse your spiritual energy, align your chakras and, above all, live a lighter, more connected life, more aligned with your soul mission. Remember, your body is talking to you. Your spiritual column is a map. And who learns to read this map, it simply unlocks a new level of existence itself. So, let's go on this journey together.